day for a Buffalo Bills training camp delivered plenty of storylines, but none bigger than the breakout performance of wide receiver Keon Coleman. Sunday morning's session in Pittsburgh had its fair share of moments, but Coleman firmly established himself as the centerpiece of the day, stringing together a collection of highlight-worthy plays that left no doubt about his potential impact on this team. From the very first rep, it was evident that he had a different gear: his confidence, his timing with Josh Allen, and his ability to win contested catches all pointed to a player ready to make serious noise in his rookie campaign. The buzz started with a deep vertical shot from Allen, who launched a go ball that traveled about 30 yards downfield. Coleman elevated over Dorian Strong, completely blanketing the defender and pulling in the catch with poise. It wasn't just the athleticism that stood out, it was how cleanly he located the ball and the control he maintained through the catch. Just a few plays later, he did it again, this time working on a fade route against Jamarcus Ingram. Allen gave him a chance and Coleman made the most of it. There was a rhythm developing, and that trust from the quarterback seemed to grow with every snap. One of the most impressive reps came on a deep comeback route where Coleman found a soft spot between into defenders cornerback Tre'Davious White and a safety that appeared to be either Taylor Rapp or Cole Bishop. Allen had to thread the ball into a tight window, and he did just that. Coleman made himself available, came back to the ball, and completed the play like a seasoned pro. It was the kind of rep that doesn't just look good on film. It speaks volumes to a quarterback's trust. Allen repeatedly gave him chances even in tight coverage, which is exactly why Buffalo drafted Keon Coleman in the first place. Nobody's saying Coleman is a complete doidle receiver just yet. He's not the kind of route technician you'd expect to thrive in every situation or line up all over the field. But what he does bring to the table is undeniable. He's a contested catch machine, a vertical threat, and a physical mismatch that defenses are going to have to respect. And when you pair that skill set with a quarterback like Josh Allen, who isn't afraid to challenge tight coverage, it becomes a real problem for opposing defenses. Sunday morning was a clear example of how the Bills can maximize Coleman's strengths and start to craft a defined role for him in this offense. Of course, not everything was about Coleman, although it definitely felt like it. With Curtis Samuel missing practice due to a hamstring injury, the door opened for some other receivers to get meaningful snaps, and Tyrell Shavers made the most of that opportunity. The undrafted wideout saw extensive time with the first-team offense in both 7-7 and full-team drills. When the Bills rolled out their primary 11 personnel group, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, the trio was typically Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman, and Khalil Shakir. But Shavers got sprinkled into those looks often and delivered. Shavers lined up everywhere, outside, inside, even in tighter alignments near the formation. He looked sharp, aggressive, and dialed in, and just as he was building momentum, disaster struck. During a 2-point conversion drill near the end of practice, he caught a pass over cornerback Maxwell Hairston. After the play, Hairston continued to swipe at the ball as Shavers protected it, and in the awkward motion that followed, Shavers appeared to plant his leg awkwardly. He went down immediately and didn't get back up. Trainers were quickly on the field, and after a few minutes he was carted off with what looked like a serious leg injury. The entire team, including members of the coaching staff and even owner Terry Pegula, gathered around to show support. The injury was a gut punch, not just for Shavers, who had been quietly climbing the depth chart, but for the Bills' wide receiver room as a whole. Shavers had become a dark horse candidate to sneak onto the final roster, especially given his ability to contribute on special teams. While the top 5 of the depth chart, Coleman, Shakir, Palmer, Samuel, and Elijah Moore, have talent, none of them have been reliable special teamers. That's where Shavers had a real shot to differentiate himself, and his absence now leaves the door open for someone else to seize that opportunity. Perhaps Jalen Virgil, or even someone like Steven Gosnell, who also earned a surprising rep with the first team during this practice. Speaking of Elijah Moore, it was hard not to notice how little involvement he had with the first team. Despite Curtis Samuel being out, Moore barely saw any reps with the top unit. It's only one practice, of course, but it was noticeable. He's had some impressive moments on video and clearly has a desirable skill set, but on Sunday, he simply wasn't part of the major offensive action. That's something to monitor going forward, especially as the wide receiver depth chart continues to shift. Moving to the linebacker situation, the absences of Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams opened the door for some unexpected faces to step in. Both Bernard and Williams were dealing with soft tissue issues, hamstring and calf respectively. which gave players like Shaq Thompson, Joe Andre, and Balon Spector a chance to show what they can do. And no one made more of that opportunity than Shaq Thompson. The veteran looked sharp, particularly in coverage where he made multiple plays that turned heads. One of his best moments came on a pass breakup where he elevated and disrupted the throw, showcasing the athleticism that once made him a first-round pick. It's worth noting that Thompson isn't some random camp body. He was a significant player in Carolina, under both Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. His history with the staff gives him a leg up, and based on what he showed Sunday, he's not going to go quietly in this position battle. Meanwhile, Adwin Yulfosio, the rookie fifth-rounder, seemed to be buried on the depth chart. He didn't get many meaningful reps, and was largely sidelined, a stark contrast to the rotation involving Thompson, Andre, and Spector. It's still early, but Thompson is firmly in the mix, and the Bills may have to consider how many linebackers they keep. Traditionally, it's been 6, but with depth needed elsewhere, they could opt for 5. On defense, one of the most consistent themes throughout the day was pressure, specifically 5-man pressures. Ryan Nielsen, the new defensive assistant, is clearly making his presence felt. Known for his aggressive style and success with defensive lines in previous stops, Nielsen seems to be adding a more aggressive tone to the Buffalo defense. Slot blitzes, linebacker stunts, and a constant flow of pressure were on display, with Taron Johnson taking a vet day. Kim Lewis got the nod at slot corner and made the most of it, including what would have been a sack off a perfectly timed blitz. Behind him, Brandon Cottingham got a ton of work, and it's looking like he's carving out a path as both a returner and depth piece in the secondary. As for the defensive front, Greg Rousseau and A.J. Epinesa continued to work as the primary defensive ends. Joey Bosa was notably absent from full team reps again, with the team seemingly taking a cautious approach with his workload. It appears that Epinesa might be the guy getting early down snaps, with Bosa being deployed in more specific high-leverage situations. Meanwhile, Javon Solomon made his presence felt off the edge, flashing quickness and a knack for disrupting plays despite the lack of pads. Landon Jackson also showed strong effort, though evaluating linemen without full contact is always tricky. At defensive tackle, the rotation appears to be setting up as Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones with the starters, followed by Larry Ogunjobi and rookie Dwayne Carter. Carter looks destined to play the one unique spot, while T.J. Sanders and Deone Walker rounded out the third unit. Pairings like Sanders with Carter and Walker with Sanders are early signs of how they're testing chemistry within the group. The pads will bring more clarity, but the structure of the rotation is taking form. This practice was packed with key developments, and while Keon Coleman stole the show on offense, the defense showed some clear schematic evolution. With pressure packages, roll experimentation, and rising contributors at multiple positions, the Bills are laying down the foundation of what could be a much more aggressive unit. Part 2 will dig deeper into the offensive rhythm, the tight end action, the backup quarterback battle, and a play of the day that reminded everyone why instincts and timing still matter, as the Bills wrapped up a practice that already featured standout moments from Keon Coleman and rising defensive contributors. The offensive side of the ball continued to provide plenty of talking points. One of the most consistent and dependable performers throughout Sunday's session was tight end Dalton Kincaid. In a practice that leaned into timing, rhythm, and route precision, especially given the lack of pads, Kincaid quietly stood out by simply executing at a high level. He found soft spots in coverage, created separation, and made multiple catches in team drills, somewhere in the range of 4 or 5 receptions, none of which resulted in incompletions. Kincaid's sharpest moment came on a corner route where Allen launched a high-arcing ball into tight space between the defenders. The throw took a bit longer to reach the target than expected, which allowed both Taylor Rapp and Matt Milano to close the distance. But Kincaid held on through contact in traffic against tight coverage. That's the kind of play that earns a quarterback's trust and quietly signals a player ready to take a leap in his second year. While Kincaid may not make the flashy headlines like a deep ball to a wideout, his ability to consistently win his route and catch in traffic gives the Bills another layer to their offensive identity, especially against zone-heavy defenses. The running backs were also active and involved, not just in the ground game, but particularly in the passing game. If there was a central theme for the backs on Sunday, it was their involvement as check-down options and design targets. James Cook, Ray Davis, and Ty Johnson were all featured in ways that emphasized quick decisions and spacing. What stood out wasn't just the number of targets, but the variety of alignments and roles they were placed in. The Bills used multiple Two back sets not just with fullback Reggie Gilliam, but with Ty Johnson and Ray Davis on the field. At the same time, one particularly creative look had Johnson aligned in the slot before motioning into the backfield, creating some misdirection and forcing the defense to communicate quickly. The standout play from that wrinkle came when Johnson ran a wheel route and got matched up against Shaq Thompson. It was a beautiful throw from one of the backup quarterbacks, possibly Mike White, and the completion traveled for a sizable gain. That moment underscored the kind of versatility the Bills want from their running back group. It's not just about who can run through the tackles, it's about who can create matchup problems, stretch a defense horizontally, and force defenders to cover more ground. James Cook, often seen as the lead back in Buffalo's committee approach, had a quieter but still encouraging day. Before practice kicked off in full, he shared a brief exchange with team owner Terry Pegula, just a handshake and some brief words, but it was a small moment that hinted at a healthy and positive vibe, contrary to any offseason speculation about frustrations or disconnect. Cook moved well in drills and flashed as a receiving option during team sessions. He was also targeted in a scramble drill with Allen rolling left and hitting him along the sideline. The sideline judge ruled it a catch, and whether it was truly in or out didn't matter. The design, trust, and execution were what mattered most. The Bills' emphasis on throwing to running backs is not new, but it's something they clearly want to double down on, and they should. Last season, Buffalo ranked number 1 in multiple efficiency metrics when targeting their backs, including EPA per play, yards per attempt, and passer rating, yet they were only 20th in volume. The data screams for more usage, and based on Sunday's reps, it looks like that message is resonating with the staff. If the team can increase the volume even modestly, it could add a reliable release valve for Allen and offer more variation in short yardage or second down scenarios. While Allen had solid command throughout the day, the battle for QB2 between Mitch Trubisky and Mike White provided plenty of intrigue. Both quarterbacks received second-team reps and both had moments, but it was Mike White who looked more composed, decisive, and in rhythm. White delivered with better timing and more accurate throws, especially on intermediate routes. His biggest advantage, ball placement. On one drive, he hit receivers in stride and showed comfort against pressure. Trubisky, by contrast, seemed late on his reads and struggled with throwing mechanics, particularly when moving off his first read. He has more mobility, sure, but White's processing and placement made him the more efficient quarterback on this day. It's still early in camp, but the difference between the two is becoming evident in how each manages the tempo of the offense. White may not be flashy, and he certainly doesn't have Allen's arm or Trubisky's athleticism, but what he offers is reliability in the short and intermediate game. That might be exactly what Buffalo is looking for in a backup. Someone who can come and move the chains and avoid turnovers without needing to make magic. Whether that dynamic holds throughout preseason games remains to be seen, but as of this practice, White appeared to take a slight edge in the battle. One area that didn't go as well as the Bills would have liked was the kicking game. Tyler Bass had an inconsistent outing during team field goal drills. Right as the rain started to fall over the practice field, he went 4-for-7 with misses from both 43 and 47 yards, one wide right, one wide left. He did rebound with makes from 33 and 50, but there's no sugarcoating the inconsistencies. While weather was a factor, it wasn't heavy wind, just steady rain. For a kicker of Bass's caliber, it's not the performance you want to see, though. It's better to iron out those issues now than in a crucial game come November. One of the most jaw-dropping moments of the entire session came on a defensive play by cornerback Jamarcus Ingram. During team drills, one of the backup quarterbacks, likely Trubisky, targeted Tyrell Shavers on a deep post. The coverage was a classic cover 3 look, and Shavers had the leverage. It looked like a clear window, and from the moment the quarterback released the ball, it appeared to be a surefire touchdown. But Ingram read the play like a seasoned vet, breaking off his zone responsibility. With perfect anticipation, he jumped the route, cut underneath the receiver, and snatched the ball out of the air for an interception. It was a momentum play, the kind of Riedrich Thunders moment that stands out even in a camp full of great reps. Ingram's pick was the kind of defensive statement that can stick with coaches reviewing tape later that night. And while many of the day's offensive highlights belonged to Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, and Ty Johnson, this was the play that made the entire sideline take notice. It showed instincts, preparation, and discipline, 3 traits that always stand out in a crowded position group like cornerback. As for the offensive line, with Spencer Brown still sidelined by a back injury, Ryan Van DeMark continued to take first-team reps at right tackle, While Sunday wasn't a padded practice, Mark handled himself well enough in pass protection drills and looked poised. These early reps could become crucial for him depending on how long Brown is out. Offensive line depth has long been a concern for this team, so any sign that a backup can hold his own against top defenders is welcome news. The Bills' offense as a whole seemed to emphasize rhythm and pace throughout the practice. The ball was coming out quickly and there was a clear effort to avoid negative plays. Whether it was by design or in response to the heavy defensive pressure, looks Josh Allen and the quarterbacks focused on quick reads and efficient decision-making, with multiple receivers rotating through different looks and formations and with backs actively involved in the passing game. The entire offensive unit looked like it was working to establish identity and chemistry, especially in non-padded sessions, where timing and trust are everything. Defensively, the day closed with more five-man pressures, another signal that coordinator Ryan Nielsen is putting his stamp on this unit. There was no hesitation in bringing extra heat from the second level, and even safeties were involved in simulated blitzes. Cam Lewis stepping in for Teron Johnson executed a well-timed edge blitz for a would-be sack, while other linebackers like Shaq Thompson and Balon Spector continued to fill gaps aggressively. It wasn't just blitzing for blitzing's sake, it was structured, targeted, and designed to test communication on the offensive side. As the Bills look ahead to the rest of camp, the competition at nearly every position is only getting tighter. The receiver room, shaken by Shaver's injury, is far from settled. The running back rotation is beginning to define itself as a multidimensional unit that must be accounted for in the passing game. The quarterback battle for the number to spot is heating up, and on-defense aggressive tendencies are surfacing, with multiple players stepping up in the absence of injured starters. If Sunday was any indication, this version of the Buffalo Bills is going to look a little different in 2025. More aggression on defense, more complexity in the passing game, more trust in the youth, particularly players like Keon Coleman, who announced their arrival in a big way. Camp is long, preseason is longer, but every practice like this one brings new questions, new answers, and new names ready to break through. Before we dive back, and make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back, let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. In a development that has sent shockwaves through the NFL community, rumors are swirling around the possibility that Josh Allen, the star quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, might be leaving the team after a historic season. Sources close to the matter suggest that Allen's future in Buffalo is uncertain, sparking intense speculation among fans, analysts, and insiders alike. Allen's performance this past season was nothing short of spectacular, breaking franchise records and solidifying his reputation as one of the league's premier quarterbacks. Many expected him to remain the cornerstone of the Bills franchise for years to come. However, whispers have emerged hinting at potential disagreements within the organization, contract negotiations, or even Allen's own desire for a new challenge elsewhere. The timing of this rumored departure is particularly surprising given the momentum the Bills have built around Allen. Coming off a season where he led the team deep into the playoffs, his leadership and on-field prowess appeared unshakable. Yet, in the cutthroat world of professional football, dynamics can change rapidly, and no player is truly untouchable. Fans are divided, with some holding onto hope that this is just a passing rumor, while others are already bracing for the possibility of a major shakeup. If Allen does leave, the Bills will face a daunting task in finding a successor capable of matching his talent and leadership. Meanwhile, other teams are rumored to be quietly expressing interest in acquiring Allen's talents, potentially igniting a bidding war that could reshape the league's quarterback landscape. The prospect of Allen joining a new team excites many, envisioning how his dynamic playmaking could transform a struggling franchise or elevate an already strong contender. As the offseason progresses, all eyes will be on the Bills' front office and Josh Allen himself. Will this be a calculated move by Allen to seek new opportunities, or merely a distraction in ongoing contract talks? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the NFL world is buzzing with anticipation over the future of one of its brightest stars. Stay tuned as this story develops, because if the rumors hold true, Josh Allen's next chapter could redefine the league's quarterback scene. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.